7, 12, 11, 1, 0, 6. How many numbers?
This is episode number 429 of WPwatercooler New Action WordCamp US 2022 Contributor Day. I'm Jason Tucker. You find me at Jason Tucker on Twitter.
Episode 429.
I'm Steve Zangen. I'm the founder of Zeek Interactive, and I run the Oaks.
Zeek Interactive. He does stuff. Oh, I'm Say. Hi. I talk smack on Twitter. David Media.
Could have left it there.
And y'all know who it is. It's your boy Jason Cosper, aka Fat Mullenweg, back at it again on the world's most dangerous WordPress podcast.
Oh yeah, we dangerous.
Speaking of danger, go over to Spotify and go listen to us there.
Wah, oh, la 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 la.
Hello.
I forgot
everyone.
that
How are you doing
that
today?
I say influential and just
Dangerous. You know what
Sorry.
though?
Everybody knows we're the most influential podcast. So.
Are we the most existential podcast?
Hi, Courtney.
Hello, nice to see everybody.
Speaking of which,
Speaking of existential threats.
Hello, I'm Courtney Robertson, and I work at GoDaddy Pro.
That's just a giggle for no reason other than happy to see Courtney.
always happy to see Courtney.
Yeah. Courtney, unlike the rest of us, was actually at Contributor Day.
Oh.
So, whereas I will be speaking via my knowledge of the Slack and the Make, the virtual
Mank.
Make?
Oh, Mank. Yeah, I got it. Heard it.
Mank. M-A-K-E.
I got it.
Yes. Okay.
My hearing, it's I'm getting old.
You really are. Okay. So anyway, I was virtually paying attention, but Courtney was there in person, and I don't know if Andy Fragen was there. Hi, Andy Fragen. But you should have been, and if you weren't, you were remiss from missing it. Honestly. Although I need to say, first of all, I want you to tell. You said that you work at GoDaddy, Courtney, but I definitely want you to just reiterate what it is you do within the Make project itself, just so we're clear on your awesomeness.
Why, thank you. So Andy, that just said hello, is trying to poach me to go to the core team because Andy helped me get, for the first time at Contributor Day, I managed to get with Andy to get the core local dev environment set up on my laptop. However, I don't know if Andy's going to be able to poach me because my main home in the Make WordPress project is over on the training team. We make the content that goes onto learn.wordpress.org. I got to be a table lead and hang out with some of my longtime favorite historical contributors to the project, and it was amazing.
By the way, if anybody wants to poach me, it's steve@zeek.com.
Good luck. I hear you're pricey.
Nobody's reaching out to me.
Gotta go to Contributor Day, Steve. That's it.
I don't know if I want to be poached. It sounds uncomfortable. Slightly. But poached by Andy, I mean maybe that's
maybe
Scrambled. I'm more of a scrambled person myself.
Yeah.
He's a surgeon. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah. I'm looking for more of an over easy type of situation. Just so we're clear.
What just happened?
You mean egg jokes, Steve. Obviously.
I understood. I got
egg jokes. Because we're a bunch of eggheads. Winks. Oh, look, Andy's getting into it down there.
Yeah.
All right, I just want to say real quick that Andy is one of the folks in our community that I think are actually part of what makes our community so interesting, because Andy is not necessarily a WordPress professional insofar as that he is a trauma surgeon.
He's a surgeon. Like not a code surgeon, a real surgeon.
Like with blood and masky things that definitely work. Anyway, we are getting distracted by Andy. Thank you, Tucker, for doing that because it's his favorite thing to do. But I do want to talk about Contributor Day. I think that from the pictures I saw and from my third-party assessments on Twitter, this was one of the better attended Contributor Days. The room was full. Like there were people there. No one wanted to leave.
Yeah, the room was full.
So I forget the exact numbers that I saw for Contributor Day. There was a rough count. Look at all those pictures going by. So there was a rough count during Contributor Day right before lunch of all the people that were there. Percentage-wise, I think I heard we were coming close to 40% of attendees were
That's so amazing.
Wow.
Because it
Yeah.
was such a reduced attendee.
See, Andy. There's Andy, but me.
Oh, and you. Look at that. It's
Yeah.
we did not plan that. But I think that it was also a much smaller WordCamp US, much more like a regular style WordCamp, a regional or local WordCamp versus WordCamp US, which Matt Mullenweg mentioned in his talk also, kind of that intimate feel. But I still did not see multiple people that I was looking for and wanted to see. I don't know if it was just like spread out that way, but like I literally did not see people. So it wasn't that small.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think it was the turnout is great, even though it's small. Like I didn't go because I went to the zoo because, toddler, but like
I missed a contributor day here or there when I had the toddlers too. And now that mine are not toddlers, it's great to be back. And it would be great in the future to see, I need to check on this. For the years that we've had Kids Camp running, if they had Kids Camp going on during Contributor Day, how that was handled. Because
I know they did. I know they did at St. Louis.
Yeah.
They had stuff happening on the Sunday. But that was like, I think, the most elaborate kids camp.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so we had all of this turnout, right?
Yeah.
Y'all did. I wasn't there, so I can't say us, but us as the WordPress people. But bandwidth was a no-go. Yeah.
That was a bit of a challenge. Yeah. We had some new folks on the team, and we did have a little bit of bandwidth, but the photos team certainly wouldn't have had the bandwidth to handle the photo uploads in the room. So they went on a photo walk, but a lot of us were able to do activities at our tables that didn't require a whole lot of internet bandwidth. I think marketing team was struggling though with their just getting into Google Docs.
Oh no.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that is always, I even commented on it last week that on last week's episode that the Wi-Fi was like everywhere and like really mentioned, and I thought it was actually pretty good during the event itself, but apparently on Sunday it was crapped out. Nonetheless, work was done, and a lot of people were onboarded, and I've been seeing a lot of tickets come through through Meta, through Core. Was what did the Learn team do? Yeah,
Learn and training team. We had a couple different things going on. One, the Learn website is gearing up towards eventually being part of the training program for certification in WordPress. So we need the quality of training materials.
That's a big deal.
It really is, right?
Yeah.
So I had employers in various industries coming up to me during the event saying, hey, I'm hiring for this one role right now. Do you know anyone? Because I help run the jobs.wordpress.net site. That's really Chris Wegman running most of it, but I help a little. So between that and training, people are like, I like to help try and get people connected to job opportunities. And I said, I'm not sure that I can find someone right now for that one role, but long-term, holistically, we're looking at solving the WordPress jobs pipeline where we need more qualified talent, right? And so Learn can be that home to help improve the quality of the talent that we've got available to us so that people actually know the programming languages and WordPress itself if they're applying for dev jobs, or in the design space that they know a lot of what the WordPress people need them to be able to work with. So
actually, real quick, I saw yesterday Angela Bowman asked WP Girl on Twitter. She tweeted slightly unrelated, but just about that she just had learned about folks on LinkedIn who basically like copy people's careers and background, and then like basically pretend to have work experience and then go from job to job, getting signing bonuses and getting hired, and then not doing any work and then getting fired in that process.
No, we need to make sure that's not the case.
Well, exactly. So this is we had talked, you and I had talked previously about the fact that that is something that can more easily be done in WordPress. Not that we think that there's a ton of people like being fraudulent out there necessarily, but I'm sure there are, but it's not the point. Is it's hard to know what people's actual development skill level is in WordPress because there is no sort of metric against which to measure it. Which is different than so many of the other structures that have certification programs, or at least like, third-party certification programs, or whatever it happens to be. And we are really alone in that, not having that at all. And this is, I just wanted to not let that go without bringing it up, because it's something I think we'll talk about again. But it's a big deal to me. And I think
so know that part of the day we created some documents to look at other open source projects, what they do for certification, just to start collecting that. We're not anywhere near done with that list. I got a great recommendation from Amy June, who's over at opensource.com, on I got a big list of open source projects where I could go review both their Get Involved pages and also their certification programs, and just sort of look at what do we like and don't like about those various initiatives so that we can learn from them. But during the day, so those 2 documents were kind of worked on a little bit in the day. We had one person that was contributing by reviewing accessibility of the content on Learn. We had other people that were like Allie Nimmons comes in from having a lot of experience teaching WordPress courses for many institutions. So we were discussing about the quality of the materials that we're creating and making sure that that is up to a professional caliber. We also had some people working on, at the training table, had Micah from Bluehost was working on the GitHub repo that we've got. We've got a GitHub issues track project board, and that ties to what Meta does to help us track contributions to the project, because let's leverage technology and take some of the work off of
technology,
the people. And in trying,
we
can't store everything in my head. It just doesn't fit. So we're using GitHub to sort of track the contributions in the project and help streamline our workflows with some automation there.
We put the link in the chat just so we can have it in our show notes.
Yeah. So it's, I'll just say, if folks head to make.wordpress.org/training, everything's up at the top of that page in the welcome box. So I'll get the link. But we have made a lot of progress. And we also had 2 former team reps in person, 1 former team rep remotely, and then the other team reps, some of them were able to be present and some were not. For them, it was, the middle of the night. But it was a lovely time on our team, and lots of cross-team collaboration, because some of the same things we face other teams like Docs experience too. So it was great.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was trying to be like polite and like I was listening, and then I didn't know how to stop. Sorry.
Okay.
I gotta stop listening.
I have a quick question, real quick, Courtney. So the welcome box actually has content in there too. So usually when I go to the site and I see the welcome box, I go hit the hide welcome every single time.
Yeah.
And I've never noticed that there's actually like a list of meeting times and stuff like that there.
Yeah, it's in there, and you can click to expand it when you go to the site as well. So if you've hidden it, you can hit the unhide option that displays there. It's like show and hide the welcome box.
Yeah, that box has always been a huge gripe for me, because every time I go to the site, I look at it and I go, it's the same content on every page. And then come to find out that there's actually like custom content on there too.
Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you.
It has been changing team to team, because it actually was very stagnant for a long time. So I think that I know marketing has been working on just kind of their intro text. I think just kind of, maybe it's because everything else is Gutenberg, so everyone's kind of turning their attention to their GitHub or maybe it's because GitHub, everyone's transferring over to GitHub, so we're trying to figure out the balance between what lives on GitHub and what lives on Make. I think that's a really and where are the handbooks for all of this. I think Courtney and I, particularly in various areas, have put pressure and brought up the where are these things, where are these different handbooks and stuff. But I mean, it's the whole community is looking for that, and I think it's definitely slow. We all know the slowness, right? It doesn't happen in a week or 2, but I really feel like there is getting some cohesiveness in terms of making the site itself much more useful than it was, including the navbar, which was a Matt Mullenweg instigated push to get that done, and it also has a lot of problems, but it was recently updated to be much more streamlined. So there's movement within the Make community to make participating in Make and to contribute much easier. in addition to expanding the definition of what a contributor is. So that is really helping. And I think that's making people feel like there's hope.
Related to that, this isn't a finalized or done thing, but if you go to make.wordpress.org/latest, and just I gave you the link for that one. This is just an RSS board, literally, of all the teams. Like it's the one RSS place. It auto updates via RSS.
But you need to understand that Courtney just made this on her own. She was like, this needs to happen, and so has single-handedly, with assistance from different folks like from Meta, but has been the force behind. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, this is so basic. Like all of the different posts from all of the different teams are here collected in one spot, so that you can go here and basically look on a per team basis as what the latest things are that are happening and being discussed in that team on the Make blog. Not the same thing as the GitHub. So there's other issues that exist over on the GitHub and of course in the Slack itself. But anything that gets big traction and also is kind of requesting feedback is generally put on to the blog. Generally, there's exceptions to all of that, lots of them. But anyway, so this page is new and Courtney made it.
Awesome. I did not know about this. This is great. I can see what's going on with the core team and
only 20 years later
and the training team and everything like on one page. And I can also see how many meetings the Tide project has canceled just right there.
Oh, but Polyglots gets the win for like they use we call them P2s inside of .org contribution because that's the theme that's running. So Polyglots is used theirs differently. People fill out the way the posts work on .org. You can leave like a comment at the top of the team site and it like makes it like a post. So Polyglots takes their requests that way and they get published. So Polyglots wins for having the most amount of posts ever, I think.
So this is part of the how are people structuring their teams. It's really interesting when you start delving into the management of all of these different teams because, we talk a lot about the leadership void, or I talk a lot about the leadership void within WordPress, and you can kind of see it. It's a bit of a like two hands off, but also it's nice to be hands off because it can kind of create its own thing. But it is what it is. It is a very hands off evolution of team structure, and these teams have gone through a lot of evolution. All of the different teams. That's saying it nicely, right? Evolution. Instead of turmoil or WP drama or any of those terms. But it's really interesting how unique Polyglots is, for example, but how the operation of each team is so unique. I think it makes it more difficult to understand and participate across the team and not just in one tiny area. Yeah.
The nice thing with Contributor Day, somebody that was collecting the notes from what all the different teams did for a recap post, they were walking around and like writing it on paper and pencil. I don't know how to handwrite anymore, but that's what folks were doing there. And they wanted the ability to put it on the update site. So I said, okay, let's go over here to the meta table and ask Otto for permissions to get this person added onto the site. And we were able to do that in person at Contributor Day, which is great. There are times I think that being in the same room, you can walk around, get to know what the other teams are up to, figure out how to collaborate across the teams together in ways that are challenging if you're only inside of Slack.
And even if you're inside Slack at the same time, like at the meetings, it can be more useful than because people forget and their attention drifts away, especially for something that is not everybody's full-time job, right? You say something and then you're like, oh yeah, I also have to work. Let me go work for a minute. And then you're like, wait, did someone respond? Wait, oh, okay. I have to, get my brain back into that thing that I do for fun.
Yeah.
I'm winked a lot in this episode. Speaking of winking, this is a perfect segue. There was another make post that came out on Core during Contributor Day that was contributed. There's a wink tally. Good. Wink tally happening down there. Did any of you read this? There was actually two core posts that were made on Contributor Day by someone who was not actually at Contributor Day. Is that correct?
I didn't see him there.
Yeah. So anyway, Matt Mullenweg, you may have heard of him. He made kind of two proclamations, essentially. We can talk about both of them, but it's interesting insofar as the core team, a lot of the core team was there in the building working on stuff. And this opinion, this post was delivered as a post, not delivered in person or discussed in person. So I'm just giving that, not with any judgment, just for context. Was it leadership? I don't know. You be the judge. Maybe it was. That's what it was trying to happen. But anyway, we linked to it here. There were two posts put out. One was about WebP and core. Cosper, did you see this?
Yeah. This
is your ballywick over here.
Yeah. No, I did see it. And it just basically, I mean, I know that WebP is a very controversial thing, and
we've talked about it on the show, how controversial it is.
Yeah, and the people who have issues with it, I completely understand their issues. I think that it is to support a new image format shouldn't necessarily be so hard, but I mean, it is. People just have opinions both about the people pushing it. Like a lot of this has been pushed forward through Google contributors, right? But also people are just like, but I upload the images that I want to upload. I carefully pick my formats of JPEG and I have it compressed a particular way. I don't want this thing that I upload to all of a sudden, now that I'm running on a new version of WordPress, start recompressing my images. So I get that, it's really hard to figure out how to like merge conversion of new image uploads into WebP and have that active. But it dovetails into kind of the next thing is that Matt thinks it would be a good idea and to kind of go back to this thing that I believe Jen Milo proposed all the way back in like 2009, that we have effectively canonical plugins that are things that are
in-house plugins. I think that's the better word than canonical, honestly, because canonical, like, what does that mean? They're like in-house plugins.
Right. And
we said canonical. I'm just saying that's what we mean essentially when we say that, right? Like,
yeah, and canonical gets especially weird now that we're living in comic book movie times, and everybody's like, "Oh, that's canon. That's not canon." Like,
right.
There are so many. Yeah, there's that thing in there's an episode of Bob's Burgers where Bob maybe has some information about something, and his daughter Tina just keeps going non-canonical, and she's getting like very upset over it, and that's now that's all I can think of when I just see canonical. But effectively, yeah, plugins that add functionality to WordPress core that are made by WordPress core contributors, that are made by the actual teams that are working on WordPress, that may not necessarily go into WordPress. Kind of how they say, what is it that I'm trying to remember which branch, if it was Congress or the Senate, is like the saucer where things go to cool. It's like, here's this idea that we have, like, you're gonna put it on like the saucer on the side.
Probably the Senate, since everything just sits there.
Right.
Forever.
Sure. But that's
committee and live forever in committee.
Exactly.
Right. Well, wait, I want to say one thing. So, and he does mention this. Oh, sorry.
No, do.
One, he mentions MP6, which was that for, I don't remember which
3.9 admin UI.
3.9. It was like the redesign of the admin, which was a big deal,
Right.
and that lived as a plugin as it was in its experimental figuring out phase. And then Gutenberg has been following that model, where Gutenberg was a plugin and then was folded into core and is still a plugin that is worked on specifically by the Gutenberg team, by the way, which is not necessarily the same thing as WordPress core, which is a whole, we've talked about and touched on here, Gutenberg versus WordPress versus which is which. But so those are examples of existing in-house plugins. But there are so many issues that I see in terms of, first of all, we are already low on contributors, right? Like, this is contribution and the problem of onboarding contributors and keeping contributors that can be consistent on a project or on a piece of software. Like, we already are struggling to get that happening. And then to add in addition to supporting the basic operations of that team, which, as I mentioned in the earlier part of the show, is just barely becoming functional. I mean, it's definitely been functional, but barely becoming like functional at scale. And then now we're going to be asking those teams, which are very strapped and very putting together some very hard fought wins, to do these other things, like this whole other separate thing. And not only that, which is, by the way, developing and maintaining a plugin is a very core heavy thing. So he listed plugins that would be for each team, but the marketing team or a lot of folks on the train team are, but the marketing team or the photos team, those aren't necessarily devs, right? Those are people who have gone to those areas to participate in ways that aren't necessarily coding. So now the marketing team would be responsible for maintaining a plugin that does, whatever it is, or, TV isn't just a matter of, captioning videos and getting all that stuff in there, but now they're maintaining a separate plugin. Like, to me, it makes, I don't understand how the teams could actually support plugin development and maintenance at all.
Especially when some of the teams have sites that they are also maintaining, like Docs TV training, and even Community has the WordCamp sites that they maintain.
I mean, Community is very busy.
Yeah.
They're trying to get the world back together. I guess he didn't put marketing in here, so marketing's not going to have one.
It is.
Is it on there?
Some of these teams aren't developers. Like,
well, that's exactly what
you
I'm
could
saying.
be on a team. You could be in WordPress and not be a developer.
That's what I'm saying.
You could be a designer. You could be
not going to be a ton of devs. Like, people who are on the marketing team tends to be a split there. Those don't tend to be heavy dev people who want to manage and develop a plugin, or they'd be on a different team or building a plugin. Like, so I am completely unclear on how each team would develop and maintain this when each team does not have the actual developer presence to manage this or build it. So
not only that, but I think also I would call attention to Joe Dolson's comment regarding accessibility and civil rights. If the method of getting more accessibility into core involves creating a plugin for accessibility, Joe indicates that would be an issue with civil rights per Brown versus Board of Education.
Yeah, I mean, unless the Supreme Court takes that away.
Sure, and that's an American thing, but the principle of
it is an American thing.
The principle of separate but equal is not exactly a great experience that we want to have in WordPress.
It's completely othering by saying you can have an accessible UI over here.
Yeah,
that's literally all it is, and that's what that solution is. And I think that Matt maybe just thought of that because of the question that was brought to him the day before about accessibility, and so he's like, oh well, why don't we just make an API that it can be fully accessible? But that's not the point. The point is not to create an alternate UI that accessible people can use. It's to make the one that we have work for everybody. Like, that's the problem. Yep. And so his solution to other it is, I mean, that's kind of happening in all of these suggestions.
We have already, the performance team has some plugins. The ones Andy just mentioned in the comments below also are plugins that are related for improving the experience and doing the plugins as features. And they all need to be tested more thoroughly. We have like site health and that new plugin review. It's a plugin review by the plugins, right? So we have some of that in process, but some of it is still really problematic. And also the elevation of what Andy was mentioning with the rollback plugin. That's one that if you need to roll a version back inside of plugins, themes, WordPress, that you could do so. And we need ways to get testing on those. So calling them canonical, it sort of almost neglects that these things do exist in features as plugins do exist in some way, and it's the pathway to core. And what are we seeing ship in core during the Gutenberg years? And
Gutenberg years.
That's amazing.
Decisions, not options, right? Like
Courtney's over here giving us titles for our next episode.
Yeah, seriously.
The Gutenberg years. So, but also the decisions, not options, that's on the About Philosophy page for WordPress. And people are asking, could we make these, Gutenberg rolled out and it just rolled out. There was no option initially to enable it. And could we see something that maybe would be like, you have it as an option to enable for a while so we get more people testing. And then after a certain point in time, it becomes the decision. Because that's kind of what we see happening inside of the Gutenberg features that are rolling out, right? Instead of, so there's a lot to
I know I don't want to cut you off. I know we're at time, but it's really my concern about canonical plugins, especially, is it feels like right now it's saying that the only changes that will be coming into WordPress are Gutenberg changes because that's where the big push is, and that everything else gets shoved into a canonical plugin that then eventually gets tested, and you might have to add it on as a plugin for months, years, whatever, before it actually makes it into WordPress core. And that, I'm sorry, is a shitty experience for end users.
Yep.
We should talk. We can talk more about this specific topic in terms of canonical plugins or these kinds of features or feature ads in future episodes.
On the next episode called The Gutenberg Years.
Hi, Otto. We need a lot of help with testing. Yeah,
Alrighty.
we do need a lot of help with testing.
Well, thank you very much for hanging out with us, Courtney. We really appreciate it. Here's our outro. Go over to WPwatercooler.com/subscribe to subscribe to this content. Some would say that we're a canonical podcast for Watercooler and for WordPress in general. So go over to our website. We'd really appreciate it. You have a good one.
Also Stitcher and Apple and Google and YouTube. What happened to that Discord, by the way?